When is it correct for you to trade bosses or to trade with your opponents in general? Trading bosses is a pretty simple thing. What you want to do very, very early on into the game is you want to analyze and identify any points on the map in the top lane or the bottom lane where you have an advantage for the boss. Now in this situation on Alterac Pass, very comparable to Cursed Hollow, as well as to Garden of Terror's Bruiser Camp, we're going to note that our side of the map has taken minimal damage in the bottom boss lane, whereas their side of the map has taken very significant damage in the top lane, as well as the fact that we have an objective spawning that's about to push in top. This means a high priority for us individually is to go top. In this situation I'm playing Imperious, so I'm going to go to top lane. I'm going to prioritize punching whatever the AoE damage is in the top lane, so they're going to have a hard time clearing this wave. Now I'm not very concerned about this Tracer. Her single target damage is incredibly inefficient at dealing with this objective. She can clear the big guy, but pretty much nothing else by herself. But what we're going to focus on in just a moment right here, this Phoenix is going to teleport in, and he's got AoE damage, and he's the one I really want to remove, because if I remove him, they don't have a good way to clear this top objective. Fantastic, the Phoenix is dealt with. Now what I want to think about is how much value is my boss going to get if I can net this entire fort? And the way to net this entire fort is to maintain my objective, and the way to do that is by killing the enemy hero yet again. So we're going to go to Africa here chasing a Tracer, and I'm eventually going to int and she's going to get out on 50 HP, but we've accomplished our objective of pushing her off of the top fort. I'm going to fast forward to a few minutes later in the game where we can see that a fantastic top lane push has been set up thanks to this catapult replacement, the Reaver. Now I'm going to go into great detail about why I think Alterac Pass is the best designed map in Heroes of the Storm history, only comparable to Towers of Doom and perhaps Infernal Shrines. But what's more important than that is that we've captured the second objective right here, and we're about to get a top wave push that's going to collide with this keep. Remember, every little bit of damage you get in this lane is going to help you get more and more value in the situation where either you take or trade a boss. Now, why does this matter to think about? Remember, it's always imperative that when you're trading something with your opponent, you are generating an advantage. You don't want to trade even with your opponents. If you're level 16 and they're level 15, you want to fight them. And if they're level 16 and you're level 15, you want to run away from them and get EXP. However, that entire thing flips on its head when you consider how much value you're going to be getting from your boss. And you're going to see we're now in a base race situation versus the enemy team. They're about to cap their objective quite quickly with their fantastic single target damage coming in from the Phoenix and Artanis, and we're taking ours rather slowly. Our opponent still needs to go through this fort, and we only need to go directly into this keep. This is going to be extremely relevant for our opponent's decision, because you can see right here, their Phoenix and their Artanis, the good single target damage, is staying around to continue to push, whereas their Tracer and Tassadar have back to deal with our boss in the top lane. Now, this boss isn't capable of ending the game. Death timers are just short enough right now that they'd be able to respawn and defend thanks to the 40 armor on the core provided by this keep and this keep being alive. Now we're at the third and final boss of the game, and this is the one that's going to decide everything. As you can see, our opponents still need to go through about a tower and a keep's worth of defense on the bottom side, whereas we have two major advantages. Number one, we have two keeps down, which means the enemy core only has 20 armor, and secondly, we've got the entire keep down in the lane, which means our boss is going to push unhindered directly to the core. Thirdly, this advantage is relatively small, but both teams have a minion wave that is going to push. You can see theirs is primarily ranged minions and ours is controlling two Reavers. Now Reavers, again, hugely advantageous here. They're going to tank all the damage from the core and maintain the minion wave the entire time, as well as enable the boss to get in while taking less damage. Now our opponents are actually racing much better than us. They're going far faster and they've already begun to arrive at our core. Their boss is right beside them. They capped it at a massive time advantage. But note the fact that we're already on the enemy core and their core is starting to evaporate. Even with this massive advantage that our opponents had by virtue of capturing their boss a full 14 seconds faster than us, thanks to opening up the map early on in the game, we are able to punch their core faster and thus secure the victory. And look at how fast our core is getting chunked down by their fantastic single target damage. We're able to win the game with just barely, and keep in mind the 40 armor, we're able to barely win out the game with 14,000 damage left on our core. Now this was a relatively close game, but we made a few intelligent decisions along the way, such as setting up and prioritizing the top lane to ensure that when we later went for the second and final boss of the game, we were in a fantastic position to simply rush the enemy's open core. I hope you guys learned something today. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to check out the Patreon where videos like this come out 2 weeks earlier. Otherwise, folks, take care and we will see you in the Nexus.